Hi, my name's Normski. I'm from London, representing the UK right here at International Radio Festival. Actually, my position in this whole thing is as one of the main speakers. I always do the morning shows, and actually since the beginning of the International Radio Festival in 2010, I was very fortunate enough to basically become the main speaker, as they put it over here in Zurich, the voice and the anchorman between all of the international radio stations. I'm not a company, I'm an independent. Normski is like a brand, but I do actually represent a radio station right now, which is Hoxton.fm, local to the Shoreditch area, online only, and I'm actually very proud of being a patron of the station. And I do my show every Friday, and we kind of pride ourselves with broadcasting live broadcasts from different venues. So ultimately, if they've got an internet connection, we can broadcast our radio shows from there. I've been lucky enough to be able to broadcast my shows from the world famous book club on Lennon Street in Shoreditch, of which I can use the downstairs area. It's not too clubby, but my show is called Getronic, and it's based around dance music, old, new, past, present and future. The IRF. When I first came across the IRF, was very lucky really, because my agent was contacted by one of the founders, Daryl, and they have a friendship that goes back many years, because Daryl used to be based in the UK. Daryl von Daniken is one of the founders. If you didn't know that, you do now. And ultimately, I offered my services because I was available on the date of the first one in 2010. I offered my date myself and came over, and it all went really, really well actually, so much so that they invited me back for last year's 2011. And now here we are on the third edition, 2012. And also, I was very proud when the IRF came to London during the 2012 Olympics to do a special pop-up edition, of which I was also a big part of that, doing daily shows for just about 3 weeks, non-stop broadcasting actually. And it switched from being a morning show to the evening show, which suited me very well, because then I could get a little bit more clubby, which is kind of where my head's at with DJing and stuff. The importance of radio, very important. We all know it's very important. I don't know if it's a fact or true, but the way I see radio is it's the first voice of broadcast that really kind of attaches and expresses itself, and people from any country throughout the whole world. Of course now, in the future of radio and broadcasting, it's not just the good old quartz radios, world service and the big companies, it's also online and through cable and various other means of getting in touch with people. So it's absolutely huge, and I think that, you know, the RF is probably one of the best formats for celebrating the most powerful form of communication, which is radio. I often say to people that, to me, something like television as a medium is really just radio with pictures, moving pictures. Some people sort of think I'm a bit weird with that, but I do think that radio came before television as far as broadcast goes. Inspiration-wise, I suppose because I've been in my life a professional photographer, mostly a music photographer from the late 80s really, and then in the early 90s I got into working in television and became a TV presenter of one of the leading sort of dance music television programs, which was Dance Energy, which I was very fortunate was on the BBC, which is pretty much the trademark and the level of quality control in broadcasting throughout the world, even though we were a cult show on BBC Two in a very special slot called Def 2. So I've always been around music, I've always been around musicians, artists, and I've always pretty much been around production because as a photographer as well. I would go to a lot of video shoots and concerts and be part of the production, not just, you know, as an independent. So that's inspired me to be, you know, continue my kind of career in music and stuff. I think the fact that I'm quite a good talker and everyone says I've had a good voice has also encouraged me to get into radio. I've listened to radio pretty much all my life, a lot of the pirate stuff. I could say when I was younger, but I still to this day listen to pirate radio. And I find some of the new legal online stations and even stations that are more than just online, FM broadcasts, are also still keeping alive that feeling of playing what we want, how we want and when we want. It's not all playlisted, and that's one of the important things to think about a lot of radio programming is is that it is a freedom of expression to share your interests, sounds, and not just music, events, culture, and even current affairs. So yeah, I do love radio, and I think it's a massively important thing. And in fact, I think every time I hear or see something new, that probably keeps me interested, because it's that kind of, it's not competitive, but it's inspiring to, especially things like the event, the IRF, to come along and meet these other broadcasters and networks from different places and see how other people work. And it's a great thing when you have something in common, like, you know, music for me is really the sort of food to life, and I think that's one thing that has no barriers. It doesn't matter where you're from in the world. If a good tune's a good tune, we pretty much all will like it and dance to it, even if it's translated or done in a version in a different native tongue and you don't understand the words. There's always a great feeling, and that's really what I'm about. I'm one for putting in a great feeling and making people feel good, and I get a lot from that. When people ask me about the future of radio, it's always a tricky one, because I never ever thought about the future of radio in 1985 when I was listening to Kiss 100 in London, or, you know, David Rodigan, and you know, and those sort of great early UK DJs. I have a real feeling and a real thing about nostalgia, and you know, being born in the 60s, there's a lot of things that were in black and white in my life, and at the beginning of. So by the 1990s, I was already thinking, wow, this is the great world. Now we're in the 2012, moving on into the 2013. I think we're in the future now. I just hope that radio continues to kind of grow, and that also, in a way, that the powers that are outside of broadcast don't get overwhelmed and try and take over that wonderful medium of getting to a lot of people, because, you know, I know we all have to earn money, and a lot of things need money, but I think the commercial radio sometimes for me can lose the whole essence of what listening to great radio is because it just seems like one advert after another. And so I'm hoping that radio stays with its own personal format, depending on who, when and what part of the world it is, and that it can stay true to itself. And I think there's enough content on this planet to keep radio alive forever, really. So the future is really bright, really colourful, and also worldly, especially with the fact that we have now superpowers with the internet and ways of connecting and sharing from anywhere to anywhere. So yeah, that's really it for me. Mr. Normski live right here in Zurich, speaking to you via the Interradio Net television, digitally speaking, 2012.